Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Welcome to this morning's Srimad Bhagavatam class. It's from Canto 2, Chapter 7, Scheduled Incarnations with Specific Functions. And this morning we're doing text 33. Without further ado, we'll start the class. Hare Krishna. So actually yesterday I filled in for Mother Gita of ISKCON Atlanta, and this time today is actually my turn. So Hare Krishna. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivadadari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivadadari Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Jamunatira Vanachari Jamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivadadari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivadadari Yachodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yachodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Jamunatira Vanachari Jamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Vihari 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 Jaya Vishnupad Paramhansa Parivāja Astottara Satashishi Maharaj Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Śrīla Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivāja Astottara Satashishi Maharaj Divine Grace Śrīla Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद से द्वैत गदाधर शिवाचार्य गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय। वृंदावन धाम की जय, मथुरा धाम की जय, नवद्वीप धाम की जय, जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय, जगन्नाथ स्वामी की जय, गंगा माई की जय, जमुना माई की जय, तुलसी देवी की जय, भक्ति देवी की जय। हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय, समवेत भक्तवृंद की जय, निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. Excuse me. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the lotus feet of Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Swami Tina. Namaste Krishna Padaya. Narayana Namaskritya Narom Chevam Narottamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayam Gujirayat Nashta Praeswa Bhadresu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhavatu Tamasloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. Jai. Please accept my humble obeisances, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 7, Text 33. Krīḍan vane niśi niśākara-raśmi-gauryāṁ rāsonmukhaḥ kala-padāyata-mūrcchitena uddīpita-smara-rujāṁ vraja-bhṛd-vadhūnāṁ hartur hariṣyati śiro dhanadānugasya krīḍan vane niśi niśākara-raśmi-gauryāṁ rāsonmukhaḥ kala-padāyata-mūrcchitena uddīpita-smara-rujāṁ vraja-bhṛd-vadhūnāṁ hartur hariṣyati śiro dhanadānugasya krīḍan vane niśi niśākara-raśmi-gauryāṁ rāsonmukhaḥ kala-padāyata-mūrcchitena uddīpita-smara-rujāṁ vraja-bhṛd-vadhūnāṁ hartur hariṣyati śiro dhanadānugasya. Hare Krishna. Please chant.
krīḍan vane niśi niśākara-raśmi-gauryāṁ rāsonmukhaḥ kala-padāyata-mūrcchitena uddīpita-smara-rujāṁ vraja-bhṛd-vadhūnāṁ hartur hariṣyati śiro dhanadānugasya. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anyone else? All right, we do word for word. Krīḍan, while engaged in his pastimes. Vane, in the forest of Vṛndāvana. Niśi, nocturnal. Niśākara, the moon. Raśmi-gauryāṁ, white moonshine. Rāsonmukhaḥ, desiring to dance with. Kala-padāyata, accompanied by sweet songs. Mūrcchitena, and melodious music. Uddīpita, awakened. Smara-rujāṁ, sexual desires. Vraja-bhṛd, the inhabitants of Raj-bhūmi. Vadhūnāṁ, of the wives. Hartur, of the kidnappers. Hariṣyati, will vanquish. Śiro, the head. Dhanadānugasya, of the follower of the rich Kuvera. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Śrīla Prabhupada, Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai. When the Lord was engaged in his pastimes of the rāsa dance in the forest of Vṛndāvana, enlivening the sexual desires of the wives of the inhabitants of Vṛndāvana by sweet and melodious songs, a demon of the name Śaṅkhacūḍa, a rich follower of the treasure of heaven, Kuvera, kidnapped the damsels, and the Lord severed his head from his trunk. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. We should carefully note that the statements described herein are the statements of Brahmaji to Narada, and he was speaking to Narada of events that would happen in the future during the advent of Lord Krishna. The pastimes of the Lord are known to the experts who are able to see past, present, and future, and Brahmaji, being one of them, foretold what would happen in the future. The killing of Śaṅkhacūḍa by the Lord is a more recent event after the Rasa Leela, and not exactly a simultaneous affair. In the previous verses, we have seen also that the Lord's engagement in the affairs of the forest fire was described along with his pastimes of punishing the Kaliya snake. And similarly, the pastimes of rāsa dance and the killing of Śaṅkhacūḍa are also described herein. The adjustment is that all these incidents would take place in the future, after the time when it was being foretold by Brahmaji to Narada. The demon Śaṅkhacūḍa was killed by the Lord during his pastimes at Horika in the month of Phalguna. And the same ceremony is still observed in India by the burning of the effigy of Śaṅkhacūḍa 1 day prior to the Lord's pastimes at Horika, generally known as Holi. Generally, the future appearance and activities of the Lord or his incarnations are foretold in the scriptures, and thus the pseudo-incarnations are unable to cheat persons who are in knowledge of the events as they are described in the authoritative scriptures. Oma Gyanati Mirandasya Gyana Gyana Shalakaya Chakshu Umritam Jena Tasma Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Vayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantika Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Peshtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravan Pachayani Nirvisheshna Sunyavadi Paschatya Shitayani Namo Mahabharanyaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namni Gauratishe Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Ram Hare Hare. English translation again. When the Lord was engaged in his pastimes of the rāsa dance in the forest of Vṛndāvana, enlivening the sexual desires of the wives of the inhabitants of Vṛndāvana by sweet and melodious songs, a demon of the name Śaṅkhacūḍa, a rich follower of the treasure of heaven, Kuvera, kidnapped the damsels, and the Lord severed his head from his trunk. Hare Krishna. So, again, this title for this chapter is Scheduled Incarnations with their specific functions. So this section or this chapter is going to talk about incarnations, different incarnations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sometimes it's not like the different incarnation that came, but sometimes there will be the functions or even the leelas, to put it quite frankly, the leelas that happened when the Lord was there in the particular incarnation or the original Krishna himself. In this one, is Krishna that's described. He was having rasa dance, then this demon Śaṅkhacūḍa, which we'll say a little bit by the mercy of the Lord, a little bit about his background, this particular Śaṅkhacūḍa. He's actually a pure devotee of the Lord who came as a demon. So we'll talk about how he became a demon. So he actually tried to, he captured, I would say tried to capture the gopis. Obviously, Krishna was there, Balaram was there at the time. Oh no, Krishna was there, not Balaram, Krishna. And and Krishna went after this demon, and there was a fight. And the demon got killed. As it says in the translation, the Lord severed his head from his trunk. That looks quite gruesome, but you do not mess with the Lord and the Lord's devotees. And this is the mistake that this demon made. Again, full of lust. So, first point the Prabhupada makes is it's Brahma that is describing the events to happen in the future to Narada. Narada asked questions and Brahma was answering them. And so he mentioned these incarnations of the Lord, sometimes the Lord coming himself, and what happened in the different situations. So he was talking about things that will happen in the future. And Sri Prabhupada makes the point that some of the events, even though it's described, the timeline is a little different from the way Brahma made it seem. Actually, in Srimad Bhagavatam, there's not as much time, or there's not much devoted to the times when things happen, as they are devoted to, or Bhagavatam is devoted to the actual events. The actual events. So the time factor is not taken as seriously as far as these things are described, but these leelas are described. But the leelas are so important to us that we need to pay attention to the details of the leela and how wonderful it is and what we learn from it about Krishna's own nature and what we ourselves have to do in order to serve him and surrender to him also. That's more important than when this happened and that. And so, Srila Prabhupada goes into some details about the pastimes of the Kalia snake and the forest fire in terms of when it happened. Yeah, the Kalia snake, that time is different from the forest fire time. You look at the Bhagavatam, when it actually is described, it talks about the forest fire coming, and it's close to where Agasura pastime is also. So yes, there's definitely authenticity to the statement that Srila Prabhupada is making. As of course, all the statements are like that; they're authentic. But he's telling us that the events are talked about. People who have been around those who can tell the future. Sometimes there are people gifted, even materially, they have that subtle gift where they can, when you're around them, they can tell you some of the things that will happen in the future, in your own life. I know it's happened to me before. And the way they say it like it's happening right now. Even some things that we can even think of as petty. You lost your watch. You did this lady was really pushing me to, I didn't remember, but he still tried until I remembered. Oh, okay, yeah, it did happen one time. Or what's going to happen in the future? I'm going to a place to teach, and he already warned me that the head of the chemistry department, the nature of this particular woman, don't be so close to him. And I went there, and sure enough, she was quite a bit of trouble. But I had been warned ahead of time. So yeah, there are people that can tell the future. Lord Brahma is one of them. Lord Brahma is very, very, very heavily endowed with so many metaphysical things. And of course, he's even able to create, planets in the universe. So he's at a level, obviously, that we are not. But he's also able to tell the future. So he's talking about all these events. And Lord Brahma is always concentrating on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Great example to us. That's why we are in his sampradaya. And so the pastimes described, Srila Prabhupada reveals that still in India, there's a time that they burn the effigy of Śaṅkhacūḍa. So who is Śaṅkhacūḍa? Well, in the spiritual world, he's none other than Sudama. Sudama, the friend of Krishna. So there's a little history about it. So Kashyapa Muni, the sage Kashyapa, he was the son of Marichi. Marichi is born of Brahma. So Brahma's grandson is Kashyapa. And Daksha, another Prajapati, gave Kashyapa 13 of his daughters in marriage. So we're going through the lineage now to get to Śaṅkhacūḍa. So one of Kashyapa's wives, very dedicated, her name was Danu, very attractive, very chaste, and Kashyapa really cared for her quite a bit. And Danu bore many mighty sons. One was Vipachiti. And Vipachiti had a son called Damba. And Damba is the one who actually started his activities that lead to the birth of Śaṅkhacūḍa. So what happened, Damba was a great devotee of Lord Vishnu, but he could not beget a son. So he became anxious. As so many times other kings, you can't have a son, to get into anxiety. So to improve the situation, his own situation, he went to the Pushkar forest and he performed severe austerities for 100,000 years. Now, sitting in the steady posture, and he had a mantra, Krishna mantra. He practiced japa. First example, in our lives, whatever is happening, we have to be constantly chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So Dambha was doing that, practicing japa in a quiet place, steady posture. And as he was doing that, he got into it so much. An intolerable effulgence, as they describe, we'll talk about why it's intolerable. But the effulgence shot out from his head and spread everywhere. Now, that was so hot that the demigods and the sages and the manus, they were all scorched by it. So Indra decided that they would get help to deal with the situation. So the demigods followed Indra and they sought shelter of Lord Brahma. So when they went to Brahmaloka, Lord Brahma's abode, they praised him and informed him of the situation. Now, several times this has happened, where when help is needed, the devotees who are advanced never go and say, help me as the first thing, ever. They always offer obeisances and praise the person they're going to get or ask help from for his qualities and his abilities. Then only then do they bring whatever they want to put in front of this person to him or to her. That's how they do it. Uttara, the mother of Pariksit, when the Brahmastra from Ashwatam was coming to bother Uttara, and Uttara realized it was going to she was going to go through a miscarriage. She went to Krishna. That time Krishna was not far away. They were still in Hastinapur area. She went to Krishna. And she begged for help. Now, she started by praising Krishna, Krishna's prowess. It's almost like saying, if anybody can help me, you definitely can. But she praised Krishna first, even in a critical situation where death was impending, this time death of the fetus, of Maharaj Pariksit in her womb. Still, she talked about how wonderful Krishna was before she said, please help me, this is a situation. And Krishna dealt with the situation. So we should be, as a matter of living our devotee life, more focused on the first things to do before any request. When we meet a spiritual master, we don't go, dear Gurudev, I need this. No, what's the first thing we do? We offer obeisances and say the pranams. And the pranam actually, for the spiritual master, is in praise of the spiritual master. I offer my obeisances to the spiritual master who is dear to his spiritual master. Many of us who have that non-Prabhupada disciples, the mantras for our spiritual masters are offer obeisances to this particular, then we name the spiritual master who is a disciple and dear to Srila Prabhupada, having taken shelter of his lotus feet. So once we say the pranam, we've gone through that first. Then we can ask. So the point we're making here is every time before we do anything involving the spiritual master, we have to offer our obeisances and say the mantra for that particular spiritual master. Very important to do. Then we'll be in line with all of these advanced devotees and how they approach those who are exalted for help. Anyway, to come back to this, Indra with the other demigods who have been scorched by this effulgence coming from Dambha, they went to Lord Brahma, related the incident to him, and Lord Brahma said, it'd be better for Lord Vishnu to deal with it. So then he led them to Vaikuntha. Again, they would praise, just like we talked about, they praised Lord Vishnu when they got there as the Lord of the three worlds. And after they praised Lord Vishnu, then they asked the Lord, "Oh Lord, we do not know what's caused this. Please tell us. What is that light by which we've been scorched?" Now, Lord Vishnu smiled. In fact, he laughed. And with a lot of love, he told them, "Oh demigods, do not be afraid. Remain calm and remain unshaken. No flood will occur because this is not the time of universal dissolution." Because you see, this is, in other words, there's more to the request that's made. And of course, Lord Vishnu already knew what the demigods were thinking. When there is effulgence, heat that scorches, that is the sequence of the end of the world. It comes first with fire, and then after that, there will be floods of water. That's why Lord Vishnu told them that don't worry, this is not the end of the world. Yes, you've been scorched, but it is not the fire that actually finishes the planet, or your planets won't go anywhere. So don't just be calm. No flood will occur. Then this is not the time of universal dissolution. So he actually came like that and told them. Then they said the Asura Damba, so the Damba is Asura, one of my devotees in Asura form. This happens also quite a bit. He is performing asceticism to obtain a son. And I, Vishnu, will soon bless him with that, his request, or his wish. And that will quiet him. So don't worry. So encouraged by this, Lord Brahma and the other demigods, they returned to their own realms. And Lord Vishnu went to Pushkar, where Damba was practicing austerity. So when he went, Damba was repeating the name of Lord Vishnu. And so the Lord consoled him and says, "What blessing do you want from me?" Then Damba again offered his obeisances with great devotion and praised the Lord repeatedly. And that is the point that we made here. All of these, when they meet a person of higher status, or pure devotee, or an advanced devotee, or incarnation of the Lord, or the Lord himself, first thing they do, they offer obeisances and praise that particular personality before we go on. So then Damba said after this, "O Lord of Lords, O Lord Desire One, obeisances unto you. O Lord of Lakshmi, O Lord of the three worlds, please be merciful to me." See, after doing these prayers, even all of that says, "Please be merciful to me." The mercy of the Lord is what we literally need. And the more we understand that, we literally will understand our whole life is based on the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Once, as devotees, we understand it that way, a lot of things will work in our favor. And even what we call reversals or difficult situations will have a good reason behind it, which we will learn sooner or later after it happens. Sooner after it happens or later. So then Damba asked Lord Vishnu, "Please give me a powerful and courageous son who will be your devotee." First point, like a son, but the connection should still be there between you and my son. The son should be your devotee. Then it should be, now he's an Asura now, so now he starts things that typically Asuras like, which is control, right? He should be invincible to the demigods. He should be the conqueror of the three worlds. And Lord Vishnu then told them, "All right, stop your austerity," because obviously the demigods are suffering from the heat coming from the effect of Damba's austerity. So Lord Vishnu told Damba to stop and granted him the blessing and then disappeared. Then Damba again offered obeisances in the direction where the Lord disappeared and returned home. Within a short while, Damba's wife became pregnant. And she radiated effulgence that this time no heat now, just effulgence that illuminated the inner apartment of her residence. The soul residing in the womb was Sudama, one of Lord Krishna's leading cowherd companions, who had been cursed by Srimati Radharani to take birth in the material world. Now, this is obviously the sentence says that there was something else that happened, and it was all tied to Dhamma wanting a son, but actually, Sudama was in the spiritual world, and in 2 sentences or so, will say what happened. Srimati Radharani was transcendentally upset with Krishna and says some harsh words to Krishna, where Krishna did not respond. But at that time, the cowherd boys were with Krishna, and Srimati Radharani was rebuking Krishna. And Sudama could not stand it. So Sudama hit back at Srimati Radharani, spoke back at him, talking about why are you demeaning Krishna like that? And the words were quite harsh from Sudama. So Srimati Radharani now got upset with Sudama and says, you dare to talk to your mother like that? Therefore, Srimati Radharani cursed Sudama to take birth in the material world. Now, actually, it says there, this is part of pastime written in the Garga Samhita. Srimati Radharani looked at Sudama's face after she had cursed him, and they both had regretted that they had allowed things to go that far. But in the spiritual world, even when things like that happen, there is some underlying cause connected with Krishna's pastime. See, here we argue and do all kinds of criminal things and stuff, disobey the law. But even the same type of things when it happens, which means in disagreements, in the spiritual world, there's always love. So when disagreements come, something has to be behind it. And usually it's a pastime that is supposed to be unfold, that this is started. So in the gatekeeper, in the situation of Vaikuntha, when the gatekeepers came, they were there, and of course the 4 Kumaras came, they cursed the gatekeepers also. But what was the reason? They were cursed to become demons, but Lord Narayan wanted to sport in the material world by fighting demons. That was the real reason behind it. And that's why the gatekeepers, Jai and Vijay, were cursed to come to the material world. So this situation also of Srimati Radharani cursing Sudama was also part of it. Sudama actually cursed Srimati Radharani back. So actually, they both regretted what they had done because it meant that they will all come to the material world. And in the case of Srimati Radharani, he was going to be without the presence of Krishna for about 100 years, which is actually what happened also when he went to the times when Krishna was away from Radharani and the gopis. It was actually part of Sudama's curse. Anyway, so kind of digressed a little bit. But this child was born to Damba's wife, and they had a wonderful performance of the rites, the postnatal rites, great jubilation, and looking at the time that was favorable, a favorable day, the father named him, Damba named him Śaṅkhacūḍa. And this is how Śaṅkhacūḍa was born. So Śaṅkhacūḍa was very, 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 very much liked by his parents. And he was a favorite son. It was the only son. Dhamma could not have a son. So this first son, he showered a lot of love on him. But, he's in the Asura line. So Śaṅkhacūḍa was actually a demon, according to Radharani's curse. But it was Sudama that had become Śaṅkhacūḍa. So there is a connection between Śaṅkhacūḍa and Tulsi. Lord Brahma actually blessed Śaṅkhacūḍa, told him where to go, and also he said to go to Badrikashram. This is Lord Brahma telling Śaṅkhacūḍa. And Tulsi Devi will be there performing penance, and you should marry Tulsi. So that's another pastime. But Śaṅkhacūḍa himself, this one, what Srila Prabhupada talked about, had to do, what he did had to do with bothering the gopis. Now, some information is given in Garga Samhita about this. This is just a summary here in the Bhagavatam. So they had done the rasa dance, Krishna and the gopis. Wonderful time that they had. Śaṅkhacūḍa, while traveling in the Vṛndāvana area, the forest, came across this. The demon is looking at Krishna and the gopis and how much fun they're having. And demons like control. Demons are lusty. And so he's thinking, Krishna has all of these beautiful girls. I should have them for myself, not Krishna. Demons are always trying to upstage Krishna, trying to take his position. Envy, the very thing that got us in the material world too. But at the time, Śaṅkhacūḍa wanted the gopis for himself. So he actually, after this rasa dance, took some of the gopis and he was taking them away. And the gopis screamed. And Krishna became aware of what Śaṅkhacūḍa had done. So then Krishna gave chase. Krishna was very annoyed. And some of the gopis were let go. But there was one particular gopi that Śaṅkhacūḍa hung on to quite a while. Her name is Chandanana Gopi. This is from Gaga Samhita. Chandanana Gopi, who was also another pastime, wonderful pastime that we'll say at another time. So finally, when Chandanana Gopi was let go by Śaṅkhacūḍa, then Krishna and Śaṅkhacūḍa started fighting. Krishna was very, 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 very upset with Śaṅkhacūḍa, bothering the gopis like that. Śaṅkhacūḍa did his best to fight back. Now, this is Krishna's cowherd boy, Sudama, now cursed by Srimati Radharani to be Śaṅkhacūḍa. Śaṅkhacūḍa grabbed a sala tree, very, very, very strong wood in that sala tree. He uprooted the tree. Demons are very strong. And wanted to fight Krishna with the tree. Krishna also uprooted a sala tree. And so they both had sala trees. And they banged each other with it. And finally, Krishna killed Śaṅkhacūḍa with the sala tree. As it says here in this text, he severed the body in his top half just got separated with the bottom, which means his waist and upper body just got separated. Gruesome death. So, a few other things that Srila Prabhupada talks about in this pastime was that Krishna was singing very nice, melodious songs and attracting the gopis' minds that way. They're already very much in love with Krishna, and they always want to serve him wonderfully. So it does say that the songs that Krishna was singing, it aroused the sexual desires of the gopis. Now, whenever these kind of statements come in the Shastra, at our position as conditioned souls, we think of sex life as we know it here in the material world. But that is wrong, because the material world is not only a reflection, but a perverted reflection. It's not a real reflection at all. Just like if you go to the side of a river and you look down, you will see your image. But because there are ripples in the river, you're going to see an image that, of course, you can see your head, but the image of the head is just bobbing, like ripples up and down, parts of your face go up and down like that. So it's not a real, even it's an image. Already it's not real, it's just an image. And then the image is also messed up like that. It doesn't look real. It doesn't look exactly like the real figure. So that's what sex life here in the material world is like compared to real sex life. First of all, the sex life in the material world, where we are, is for children. It follows, pregnancy follows it. That's the way it's designed. Nobody has children in the spiritual world. Therefore, spiritual sex life is not for that reason. It's not for children. One. And it's very different because there's so much more that can be done by the soul compared to these physical bodies. So there's no comparison there. But still, because it is the real sex life is in the spiritual world, that's why there's this perverted sex life in the material world, with the real aim of bringing those who need to learn some lessons or going on with desires in the material world to take birth in any of the species that 6 different types of species, 6 categories of species: the aquatics, the trees, the insects or reptiles, and the birds, the animals, or the human form. So it's through sex life this happens. So in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 1, Text 1, towards the end of the purport, Srila Prabhupada talks about Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. He specifically deals with the original and pure Adiras, sex psychology. And it is devoid of mundane inebriety, the way we think about things here in the material world. But we know the material creation, therefore Srila Prabhupada starts his purport based on what we know now and then goes into the real, for lack of a better word, the real deal. The whole material creation is moving under the principle of sex life. Modern civilization is like that. Sex life is the focal point of all activities. Everywhere you turn your face, they're trying to sell things through sex life. Everything is based on the mode of passion. So sex life, Papa's point is, he's concluding, is not unreal, but its reality is experienced in the spiritual world. Material sex life is a perverted reflection of the original fact, and that the original fact is in absolute truth, Krishna himself. So the man without information about the actual spiritual form of sex, we've accepted this perverted material sex life as the all in all. And people are just so focused on it now. But there is a distinction between sex life in the diseased material condition and spiritual sex life. So yeah, it does exist, but not the way we see it, or not for that particular purpose. And as far as enjoyment, it's the demigods that put a little bit more enjoyment in sex life here, because the woman has to go through a lot of challenges in the body for pregnancy. And therefore, some enjoyment, physical enjoyment, has been put in so that there will be the lure. It will be like a lure that attracts you to try that so that the woman can get pregnant. That's not what spiritual sex life is about at all. So anyway, so the conclusion is, first, Damba received Lord Vishnu very nicely. Just to recap, we should always praise the Lord when we're having prayers, we're saying, or we're praying to him. Actually, for a devotee, what our needs are should be put to the Guru. For the deity, we praise and we serve. When we need help, we go to Guru. We can also go to Lord Gauranga, because that's the Lord in a devotee form. His mood is a devotee form. So we ask Guru, or we ask Lord Nityananda, or Lord Chaitanya. We should be asking for, that's the next point, spiritual favors, not material favors. Material things are dealt with by the Lord. Based on what we did in previous lives, we are going to have a certain percentage of distress and a certain percentage of happiness, material happiness. That would not change. No point praying for things that are not going to change. No point doing that. But spiritual favors, that's important. That causes us to grow and gives us a chance to go back to Godhead. So we should be asking for spiritual favors. Also, we should not allow ourselves to be deceived by anyone claiming to be God, because all the incarnations are predicted in the scriptures. The ones that are going to be part of our life space They are predicted up to the end of this yuga. We are in Kali Yuga. Kalki Avatar will come at the end and kill all of the politicians and the military people. Kalki is named. The parents are named. The village that he's going to be born, that's also named. Therefore, you can't have anyone coming and saying, oh, I'm an incarnation of the Lord as Kalki. So the time is going to come. That's been stated. That is towards the end of Kali Yuga. We are 427,000 years away from that. 432,000 years is the total number of years of Kali Yuga. We've done 5,000 of them. If you subtract 5,000 from 432,000, you get 427,000 years. So anybody comes down and says, I'm Kalki, he's 427,000 years too early in the manner of speaking. Ignore that person. Every incarnation is predicted in the scriptures, where they were born, what they will do, and all of that is said. Again, the part we spend some time talking about is material sex life is not the same as spiritual sex life. So even though we see comments about sexual desire in the scriptures, we shouldn't look at it from the point of view of what we know as material sex life. As a matter of fact, the Prabhupada made one important point. He said, if you hear about the pastimes of the Lord in the rasa dance, it should make us less lusty. It should make us less lusty. That indicates the spiritual level that is at. Materially, we will be lusty, but spiritually, lust doesn't have anything to do with it. It's all love. So even the gopi sexual desire is based on love, not lust. Anyway, that's pretty much it. But I wanted to throw in a couple of points from a lecture that I heard from Bhakti Swami yesterday that I thought was quite important. So this is not part of this text, but I'd like to share it. As far as Krishna consciousness goes, there was a lecture by His Holiness Bhakti Swami. He said later on in this world, the only religion that will be on this earth is Sanatana Dharma, Krishna consciousness. That's the only one that's going to be there. And he proved it by what's happening now. Now, every religion literally is a subset, if you understand math, of Krishna consciousness. Meaning that practically everything any religion talks about, it's already covered in Krishna consciousness. And Krishna consciousness has more that it teaches than any religion can teach us. Therefore, there's more to Krishna consciousness than every religion, than any of the religions. And that's why devotees, and Maharaj explained, that's why devotees have been easily able to make a transition from the religion that they were at to Krishna consciousness, because they got more. So people who feel enlivened in Krishna consciousness, it's because they get to know more about God than previously, whatever religion that they were in. I remember Patasati Prabhu, I think he's Swami now, I'm not sure. He said, I came to Krishna consciousness because I heard so much in religion at the emotional level. And Krishna consciousness made sense. That was he made sense to me. So many things that in Krishna consciousness are beyond our understanding, beyond our imagination, because, of course, with our tiny bodies and being in this small planet, relatively speaking, this small planet, we won't get to experience much. But the things that Krishna consciousness talks about that are important, that we know we have proof of in our lives, that make us believe things easily. It just proves how wonderful Krishna consciousness is. For example, reincarnation, the soul transmigrating into another body. The soul goes from one soul to one body to another, In fact, when the soul is in that body, that's why the body is able to grow from infant all the way to adult. And then when the body is no longer functional, then the soul goes to the next body, along with the subtle body, the mind, and what's in the mind. And so the next life, the things that were experienced or learned in the previous life on that particular soul, it goes into the next body with it. And so it doesn't take much for that particular person in a new body in the next life to show some of the talent or some of the abilities that they have picked out in the lifetime before. And that's what we call talent. Now, what religion will explain that to us? That's the reason why a little boy that's 5 years old can play, piano like somebody who's a, maestro that's been doing it for years, and he's only a little boy. Well, they have been practicing it. They've been doing it in the previous lives. So they brought that experience in, transmigration of the body. So Krishna consciousness opens so much to us. And even when we look up on the stars, I'll just say that as the last point, Dhruva-loka, we can even locate it. The spiritual planet in the material world, it doesn't act like the other stars that twinkle, as we like to see. It's very bright, and that effulgence is spiritual effulgence. So the proof is there. So Bhakti Swami said, in every town and village, Krishna consciousness movement will take root. It's not that he made it clear that some of you are thinking that, people will get to know about Krishna, just hear about Krishna. No. Maharaj said, Lord Chaitanya, who is God himself, he said that the Krishna consciousness movement will be present in every town and village. The actual words are, they will chant the holy name. Well, if they chant the holy name, they are Krishna conscious, the people in every town and every village. So it has not fully taken place. How it's going to take place, we don't know. When it's going to take place, we don't know. That is where every town and village is now Krishna conscious. But whether it's going to happen, that's God himself predicting. Can you fight God's prediction? Who can predict better than the Lord? That owns everything. So we should never doubt Lord Chaitanya's prediction. So anyway, Krishna consciousness is going to be the main one because no religion comes close. And many times there have been debates, interfaith debates. People from different religions have come and gone together. And usually the person that represents Krishna consciousness is the one that becomes one that is able to explain things in these panels better than all the others. So yes, the only religion in the earth will be Sanatana Dharma, Krishna consciousness later on. So Srila Prabhupada is still talking about these incarnations, wonderful pastimes. This time we got one about Sudama, who became Śaṅkhacūḍa, and how Krishna relieved him from the demon's body by him trying to get some of the gopis, and then Krishna ending his life that way so he could go back to the spiritual world. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you again for coming on here. We all learn and hopefully get excited about Krishna consciousness through these lectures. This is the time to unmute yourself, dear devotees. If you have a comment or question, then you can actually share. So please unmute yourself. Hare Krishna. We have about 5 minutes before 9. Anyone with some ideas like to share? Yeah.
Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Śrīla Prabhupada.
Accept mine, glories to Prabhupada.
I was thinking, when you were speaking about it, about how when devotees approach the Lord for help, they first glorify the Lord, and they make their request, and then they beg and they plead, and then they speak about the glories of the Lord again. And I've heard that many, many times. I've even heard it from Prabhupada in one of his lectures where Prabhupada said that is the way to approach the Lord, And I've heard it from other devotees, but it's just this morning that I realized that is called the sandwich program. And I said, whoa, the sandwich program of communication existed 5,000 years ago. And I said, Hare
Oh,
Krishna.
I know where you're going with this. Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, eh, and
Mm.
I said, whoa, Krishna, this is amazing. Because, and then I remember attending a communication and leadership course by Anuttama Prabhu, um, pre-COVID. I think it was 2019, in New Jersey and in Potomac. And we talked about the sandwich program. It's just now that it's hitting me that the sandwich program uh, was executed, and
In earlier
performed
times, yeah.
in the earlier times, and we're learning
Hmm.
it 5,000 years later. Then I said, geez, sometimes we don't take the time to actually do that. We just go straight to shooting bullets. So
Hmm.
I was appreciating that, whoa, the sandwich program is really powerful because the Lord and his devotees, started that 5,000 years ago. So I just wanted to share that thought that I had, the realization about
Yeah,
the power of the sandwich program. Hare
yeah.
Krishna.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, the sandwich program is used in different instances. It's basically you praise a person that you're going to speak with, then you put whatever you want to talk about in front of that person, and then you conclude by praising the person again at the end. That is a sandwich. So we say sandwich because the two praises, the beginning and the end, are the end. The request is in between the beginning praise and the final praise. So it's like a sandwich. So the middle part of the sandwich is the actual request. And then, one side of the sandwich is the praising before, and the other side of the sandwich is praising after the request. Like that. It's called the sandwich. It's used in several situations, even by leaders when they want to correct somebody. They might start praising that person for the service that they do that's nice. And then they talk about things that they need to bear in mind, the correction, for the correction. And then in the end, they again praise the devotee for the good work that it does. It's also a sandwich, even for correcting devotees. That's also used. Mm. And of course, spiritual devotees, if they want a request from the Lord, or for that matter, from any other advanced devotee like Lord Brahma, they will begin by praising the personality first, and then put the request, and then also in the end, when they get the response, then they offer obeisance and again acknowledging the level of advancement of that particular personality. Hare Krishna. Thank you for bringing it up. Any other points for discussion? Please unmute yourself.
I think, and another point that I wanted to also share is when you were mentioning about japa,
Mm.
um, you know, um, sometimes certain people, certain devotees, sometimes we think that japa just went as far as Lord Chaitanya's time because we know that he was the one, that brought the Harinam Sankirtan, the
Hmm.
congregational chanting in japa. But if we see, like even this example that you gave about Dhaman,
Damba.
uh,
Damba, yeah.
Damba, that he was chanting japa.
Hmm.
So it actually shows the power. I mean, I do know that, there are many instances and pastimes where we've heard rishis, sages chanting japa, but
Hmm.
Damba is not a sage, but
Damba
he
is a
was
cow, but
chanting.
yeah. And then he was a
Yes,
demon too, yeah. In
right.
this situation, he's a
Exactly.
demon.
Exactly. So even when we read in the Shastra, 5,000 years ago, or however many million, because there are like 4 different yugas. So even in those different yugas, japa was already in existence,
Yeah, it
of
was part
calling
of the
the Lord.
meditation. Yeah,
Exactly. Even whichever yuga they were in, japa was already in existence. We are just finding it out now because we just try to, our minds go as far as Lord Chaitanya's pastimes, but actually it's been there for eons. So that's
yeah,
another strong point,
yeah,
to recognize and understand that japa has been there in time immemorial.
yeah.
You
Sometimes
know.
the actual mantras change. Like,
Yes.
Duba is Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, but it's also a mantra.
Yes.
He kept repeating it, which is the
It's a
same like a
japa.
japa. Yeah,
Yeah, it's a
that's
japa.
there.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Mhm.
But I mean, and also I really love Bhakti Swami's lectures. I follow him and I see
Mhm.
his short reels. He's really, really amazing. I mean, no words can describe him. But when he says something, it's like so simple and to the point, you just can't forget it.
Mhm.
But I really like the point that Maharaj said, how that at the end, this whole planet will be Sanatana Dharma. It's so promising. Just
Yeah.
to hear it from the lips of a pure devotee is so promising that no doubt will arise in our minds, like no doubt.
Mhm.
And I think that is the power of listening and hearing from the lips of a pure devotee, and believing in what they say,
Mhm.
having faith in what they say. So that was one of my takeaways also is
Mhm.
just believing and having faith in the
Yeah.
lips of the pure devotee. Yeah, very, very powerful. Bhakti Swami is amazing.
Thank you very much. Thank you
Yeah.
very much. Dear
Hare
Christian
Krishna.
Prabhu, I know you, if I can make just one quick comment connecting with what Srimati you talked about before, you can make a comment or ask a question. So nobody should actually not believe this because Krishna has already said it in Bhagavad Gita. In the times when there's a golden age coming, actually the beginning of golden age was when Lord Chaitanya was here, but it's still not taken root yet. But so many demons have to be taken out of the way. They're still in political positions. But it's not too difficult to have a proof or to understand why Krishna consciousness, Sanatana Dharma, eternal religion, would be prevalent in the golden age when, in every town and village. Krishna has already said to Arjuna, Sarva Dharman Pariteja, Mamekam Sharanam Vraja. Abandon all varieties of religion. Well, now, if we abandon all varieties of religion and surrender to Krishna, what's left? Only Krishna consciousness, nothing else. Nothing else. So Krishna says, abandon all varieties of religion, which means at some point the religion is not going to matter. And they don't take us out of the material world anyway. None of them. We're only talking about going to heaven, the higher material planets. None of the religions take us out of the material world. Therefore, the best thing that's to happen is what takes us to the spiritual world. And right now, it's Krishna consciousness that does it. Therefore, it's not too surprising that Lord Chaitanya is saying that's what's going to be prevalent. And Bhakti Swami stressed it, shared it with all of us. That is the religion we're going to have to go back to. Everybody. Hare Krishna. Dear Krishna Prabhu, please unmute yourself. Hare Krishna. Thank you for
Hare
waiting.
Krishna, Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances. All
That's
good Shri.
fine. Go ahead, Shiro
Thank you
Prabhupada.
for wonderful class. I think for me it was a difficult verse, but you made it pretty easy and connected it
Krishna's
very.
mercy. His mercy.
So yeah, I
Hare
think
Krishna.
it's just a comment on the same point Mataji also repeated how
Yeah.
this is a wonderful time or um, there will be some golden period, right? I
Mm-hmm.
also heard that the way it will happen is, and it is also mentioned in Ramayana in some of the verses also that the time we are seeing right now, and if we
Mm-hmm.
really closely observe, so much conscious, although there are still so many demonic activities, the consciousness overall, the divine consciousness is also getting uplifted all over the world to lot
Mm.
of, and it is just the power of Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan that we might not be realizing because we see so many Kirtan programs, so many activities, street
Mm-hmm.
Kirtans, temple Kirtans, Harinam, and
Mm-hmm.
that has a powerful effect which is raising the whole consciousness all over the world. And the way,
Absolutely.
yes, and the way the golden period it is
Predicted.
predicted, yeah, it will
Yeah.
happen is so this is the time which is opportunity for all the souls to get connected to the divine
Mm.
through Sankirtan because that is the Yoga Dharma. And after that, there will be a very, very dark period. So whoever will make the use of this few years or few hundred years, I don't know that number. I don't remember that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's how by Srila Prabhupada said 10,000 years will be my books will be the law book in
Yeah.
the devotion field.
In
But
communities, period. Yeah, it would be.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
he's supposed to be
But
the
then
Lord.
after, it will be a very, very dark period. There will be no opportunity to perform any bhakti, no temples, nothing.
You mean
So
after the golden age?
after this particular special age that we are in right
Yes.
now,
Yeah.
and then Lord Kalki will come, and then the Satyug will start. So this is
Yeah.
really a golden age actually, which is which we are now into now, and then
Mhm.
opportunity for all the souls to get connected to the Yuga Dharma.
Yeah.
Because if we lose this opportunity, it will be a very, very dark period, and there will be nothing. No, it will be just Lord Kalki coming and
Yeah.
destroying everything.
Yeah. Thank you very much for your comments, because this is very consistent. The thing is, in general, Kali Yuga, as it progresses, things are going to get worse. So towards the end of Kali Yuga, it'll be very bad. Again, a lot of cantos in Srimad Bhagavatam describe what's going to happen. I think it's 12th canto. Describe what's going to happen. Yeah, it's going to be really, really bad. The Bible also talks about it, but in a very, 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 it's like a fable type, the way, they talked about the dragon being the bottomless pit, and he will be released and it will cause problems in around the world. But that is consistent with this time, where things will be more heavenly in terms of consciousness, and we're building that slowly through the Harinam Sankirtan. They also mention that. There's parallels, but it's done like in a story form, where in Krishna consciousness they talk about the real thing and who is going to be causing it, and the names of the Lord and the incarnations and the situations. One more point about it is, when Lord Brahma goes to sleep, then there's destruction. There's destruction. On the day of Lord Brahma, in the evening when he goes to sleep, or night, then there's destruction. So at some part I read a long time ago, there will be a short nap taken by Lord Brahma. And that time there will be some sort of destruction also. And after that, then things would change drastically. It's all connected with the golden age. It's all connected with the golden age, where that time, it means the effect of the demons will be seriously curtailed, brought down. Demons won't have that much control anymore. It was very, very obvious. And my Guru Maharaj told me, said, this planet will be almost like a heavenly planet. That's how he put it. He told me directly. The consciousness, that is, the consciousness, will be a whole lot better. A whole lot better. So we're building towards that by Lord Chaitanya instituting the Harinam Sankirtan on a daily basis. In our daily basis, he was chanting in the streets. So we always should think in terms of the time when we're also going to do Harinam Sankirtan continuously. The world needs it badly, because this world is very confused now. People are confused. They don't know which way. Hare Krishna. Anyway, just wanted to throw that in too. Okay.
Just if you can probably maybe speak a little bit also on that.
Sure.
Only Harinam is required. I mean, all other things are, they facilitate Harinam, or they can be done. But if we don't do Harinam, but if we do everything else, it's not going to be that much helpful.
It won't be helpful. That's true.
Yeah.
That's true, because the holy name is what takes us. This is the Yuga down for Kali Yuga. The holy name. And the Harinam is what is exciting. Japa is meditation, and it's important and it's required. But Harinam is what can get other people excited to be part of the chanting of the holy name. And that's why it will be in every town and village, the name will be there. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Go ahead, Śiro Prabhupada.
I wanted to also, such a nice discussion. I couldn't hold myself back. I wanted to add to Hare Krishna's point is that Chandramani Swami said the same thing, Prabhu, that the Harinam, the more Harinam and Kirtan that we do, the more it's going to hold back the effects of Kali Yuga and bring about full Satya Yuga. He actually made that statement. Yes, he did. He did. And he said that, so we have to go out and do Harinam and do Kirtan, whether it's 1 or 2 or 3 or 50 or 100, it doesn't matter, in groups of whatever, whether it's 1 person or 2 person, or it doesn't matter, but we go out. So because Harinam and Kirtan, that's what's going to hold back the effects of Kali Yuga and bring about Satya Yuga even faster, quicker, is what he said. It's only on Harinam. Yep.
Very, very important. Thanks for being. I mean, when you think about it, it's the only thing that's going to work. The world is so confused now. And it's said in I think Science of Self-Realization mentions it also, Sri Prabhupada's book. The only thing that's lacking in this world is God consciousness. It's because God consciousness is not prevalent or in the forefront in the minds of many people. That's why they're so confused. So the more God consciousness becomes prominent in the society, the more the planet is going to be saved. And what simpler way to do it than just simply have a wonderful song people can relate to, and there's dancing and you chant the holy name of the Lord. Easy way to get people to turn to God. And we have it. So we have to propagate it heavily. So people in all ways we can at all times. Then we can save the planet, literally, doing the work. As Christians, Christian life is devotees should take credit for what happens. So we should do it. We should do it as a matter of urgency. Hare Krishna. Any final comments? If not, then thank you again for coming on. Hare Krishna. Vanchakalpatarubhescha kripa sunibhe cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Śiro Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you again. Hare Krishna. Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Go ahead, Śiro Prabhupada.
Hare
Everybody should chant. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Please chant all the time. Do your japa and listen to music and chant. Hare Krishna.